Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video looking at work, poverty and welfare, focusing on social democratic explanations of poverty. The social democratic view is a political rather than a sociological ideology that aligns with socialist ideas. Now, these are often influenced by the teachings of Marxists, but rather than being focused on enabling social change through revolution, they look to change society through democratic means. Social democracy became one of the dominant forms of political thinking in the mid-20th century, in part influenced by the economic devastation of the interwar years and the need to rebuild following the aftermath of World War II. Social democracy is more closely aligned with the views of the traditional labour movement that arose in the early 20th century, but in recent decades has often been combined with neoliberal economic policies to develop the third way policies of New Labour in the late 20th and early 21st century. Social democracy examines poverty by looking at the structural causes of poverty, namely inequality and a lack of social mobility. This approach argues that it is the role of the state to redistribute wealth, and that inequality should be tackled through the state providing better quality services. The most notable creation of social democracy is that of the welfare state, which on the back of the Beveridge Report looked to tackle 5 great evils of society: ignorance, idleness, illness, squalor, and want. These were tackled through creating state provision in education, healthcare, full employment, social housing, and social security, what some theorists refer to as the welfare model, which sets out to tackle the social issues that both cause and are amplified by poverty. Social democratic approaches see poverty as a result of people being vulnerable in society, rather than adopting cultural norms or choosing not to work, as new right theorists suggest. They identify the elderly, disabled, lone parents, and those with lower levels of skills or in precarious employment as being vulnerable to poverty. Social democratic arguments suggest that the level of state benefits is not sufficient to support those in need to both meet their basic requirements and for them to engage in society. They see structural issues such as means-tested benefits as leaving individuals vulnerable to falling into a poverty trap. For example, where people lose benefits when they start work and are unable to afford housing, heating, or council tax as a result of being paid low wages and receiving no help from the state. Instead, they argue for universal benefits that top up the earnings of individuals, allowing them to meet their needs and offering an incentive to return to work. Social democratic approaches have adopted the welfare model to tackle poverty. They argued that it's the responsibility of the state to look after the social welfare of all citizens, including healthcare, education, adequate housing, and meeting their basic economic needs. Social democratic approaches argue that reducing inequality in society improves stability. In contrast, economic inequality creates many problems, from poor healthcare to increased crime. Individuals in poverty suffer from social exclusion and are unable to access opportunities that others can. Social democratic approaches argue that universal benefits that meet the basic needs of individuals would achieve greater stability and reduced inequality. This is done by redistributing tax revenues and increasing state benefits in order to provide equal opportunities for all. There have been many applications of social democratic policies. One example is the introduction of comprehensive schools in the 1960s that promoted parity of esteem by educating pupils from different social backgrounds under one roof. Furthermore, social democratic ideas propose scale benefits such as working tax credits to enable people to be supported in their return to work. This also includes provision for childcare fees to be paid, in part helping working parents to return to work and get out of poverty. Other policies included the provision of social housing, particularly in post-World War II Britain, where the devastation of war and poor living conditions were tackled through the development of council houses. While social democratic approaches have become less common in recent years in the UK, they still remain popular in Scandinavian countries, which are considerably more egalitarian and have better educational outcomes, greater social solidarity, and reduced inequality. Critics of social democratic approaches argue that increased welfare spending means increased taxation, and this is in opposition to policies put forward by the new right. Furthermore, the concept of universal benefits has been criticised widely as too costly, particularly when benefits are paid to those that do not need them. However, this has been countered by social democratic approaches that suggest universal benefits both remove the stigma of being in receipt of benefits and reduce the administration costs of calculating means-tested benefits. The new right are also critical of social democratic welfare models, as they suggest that state provision stifles innovation and discourages competition in a meritocratic society. Why should people work when the state will provide, is one argument of the new right. However, despite the prominence of new right ideas, many social democratic viewpoints have influenced sociological thinking, with concepts such as social exclusion and community spending being utilised by left realists in proposing alternative approaches to crime, for example, promoting better social and community cohesion in order to reduce crime. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on work, poverty and welfare, focused on social democratic explanations of poverty. Thanks for watching.